So our project today is to start the power shed for the renewable energy equipment. We have some new equipment coming from Midnite Solar that we have to test. It's not on the market yet. We don't have a lot of space in the house, so we've decided to build an 8-foot square building that will house all of our solar equipment out here. We're going to walk you through that step by step, and hopefully the takeaway from this video is that you'll be able to build one of these yourselves, scale it up or down for what you're looking for. So one of the things we'll show is some of the tools that we're going to need. In our case, we're using a nail gun, but you'll notice we have a skill saw, a hammer, level, squares. We have a speed square and a framing square, and we'll explain the difference. We have our nail gun, our safety glasses, and some framing nails. We also have a bunch of building materials, set of sawhorses, and etc. So we're going to go ahead and get you set up, and we're going to show you how we get started and explain what we're doing here. So hold on a minute and we'll get you set up. So what we did is we dug out down to bedrock here. We're fortunate or unfortunate, we're on solid, what we call ledge around here in New England. So we dug out and we had some rotten ledge, we call it, but it's basically just broken up ledge, brought in, compacted. And then what we've done is we've put our 2-inch styrofoam pads down, and then we put our cement pads on top of the styrofoam pads. You'll see in the back we already have a 4x4 leveled up. We're using Hemlock 4x4s, so they're fairly rot resistant. They're also a long ways in the air. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut our next 4x4 at 8'4". And the reason we're going to do that is we want the 4x4 to stick out a couple inches on either end of the building, so that if we ever have to move the building, we have room to, attach things real well, not have to worry about, the joist falling off. You'll see what I mean later, but that's how we're doing this. We're not cutting it exactly 8. The building will be exactly 8 foot square. So we're going to set you up over here. We're going to go ahead and mark this 4x4, and we're going to cut it at 8'4". Going to measure out 8 foot 4 inches, and we're going to make a mark. Now, the skill saw we have will cut through this, but it will not do it in one pass. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark around 3 sides. And then we're going to get started. Now, if we were cutting a 6x6, for example, we wouldn't be able to get all the way through it. We'd end up using a hand saw or a sawzall or something like that. But on a skill saw, it'll go through it in 2 passes. And this one's not this critical, but typically when you make a pencil line, we'll get you a better shot when we're cutting something that is critical. We like to cut on the waist side of the line. All right, so now we're going to end up getting you set up so you can watch us. And what we're going to do, we're going to get this 4x4 in place, and we're going to level it so we can start building the floor system. So hold on and we'll get you set up. Okay, we have you set up so you can watch us. We're going to line this up. And then Sue's going to dig us out an 8 foot 2x4 so that we can level across from one to the other. We chose to keep our framing and our pads for the subfloor 6 feet square. So the pads are 6 feet away this way and 6 feet away this way. The building will overhang 1 foot all of the way around. So what we're going to do is we've taken our straight 2x4. We're going to lay it across the boards this way, because we already know this one's level. We're going to put our level on here, and then we're going to lift this one up until the level shows level.
That looks pretty good, right?
And that looks pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring our level over here like this. And we're going to block this side up until this side shows level. And we're using a combination of cedar and cement blocks. Basically, you can use anything here that's fairly rot resistant. A little bit more. That looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to check across this way as well. Because when you're using a 4-foot level, the longer the building, the more inaccurate it gets as you keep going. You can chase a little bit of an error, and we'll show you the bubble when we get this level set up. We always like to double check, and that's pretty darn good. So we're going to bring you over, we're going to show you that bubble so you can see what we're seeing. We'll give you a little explanation of the level. If you're doing a building that was a lot bigger than this, you might want to use a transit to set this up and get level. A 4-foot level, usually if you start getting more than 8 or 10, 12 feet long, you're going to start getting some discrepancies. So let's go in and look at that level so you can see what we're looking at. So let's see if we can get you down in there. There we go. So you'll see that bubble right in here. And you'll notice as we pick the level up, you see it goes out of whack. If we pick the level up the other way, it goes out of whack the other way. So that's what we're looking at. You'll notice it's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty darn close. And we expect that this building may settle just a little, and we may have to just fine tune the level, next spring after the frost comes out of the ground. So we're not going to get too awful worried about that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually lay out the rim joist for the floor joist, and we're going to cut our floor joist. We're going to get that framework set, and then we'll square it up, and we'll move the 4x4s back and forth to get them square. We could actually at this point do a diagonal, corner to corner on the 4x4s, but it's not necessary. So we're going to show you how we do that the easy way. So we're going to get set up with some of our 2x6, and we're going to explain what we're doing. So what we've gone ahead and done is we've got our 7 2x6 by 8 foot long up on the sawhorses. We're going to cut our floor joists right now. A couple things we need to do before we do that. One of them is we pick the joist up, and you're probably not going to be able to see this on camera, but we basically sight down this edge, and what we're looking for is a bow. So this way here, we don't care so much about it's this way. The board is going to have a bow to it, one way or the other. And we want to set them on our sawhorses so the bow is all facing away from us. And then what I do is I make some X's on the top of the board like this that let me know that's the top. And the reason for that being is that we want the bow to go up. We want the center of the floor to be bowed up if there's going to be any bow in it. When we put weight on it, it'll flatten down. And we want the bows all to go the same way. This is extremely important when you're framing walls. So if you get 2x4 studs and you put them every 16 inches, if you get one bowed in and one bowed out and you alternate those, your sheetrock is going to get real wavy. So you always want to keep all your bows the same way. So now when we're cutting this, remember I said the building is going to be 8 foot square. These are exactly 8 feet long. But what we have to do is we have to trim them off because we have a rim joist on either side totaling 3 inches of rim joists. Each 2x6 is 1.5 inches thick. So we need to actually cut these back to 7'9" so they fit between the rim joist. So what we do is we make a mark, and I usually like to draw a little crow's foot out off my mark like that. And that lets me know which point of my mark is actually accurate. And it makes it a little easier to find in a hurry too. We're going to do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our speed square, hold it against the board, and run it down until it meets our mark. And we're just going to draw a straight line across the board. And then this is where we're going to try to get you a shot with the skill saw, showing what I mean here. But you want to pull your board out so you don't cut through the one below it. And then when you're looking at this, you're probably not seeing it quite like I am, but right in here is the blade. And you want to get your blade so it comes into the line just on the waist side of the line. So you just want to skim the line off there. You almost want to see a little bit of pencil when you're done. There is a mark right here that you can use, but you see you can hold that mark straight, but you can still turn the saw. So I really like to just watch the blade and get the blade started in there and follow my blade through. So we're going to go ahead and cut this, and then we'll show you a little bit of the line there. And you'll see I left just a little bit of line. That tells us we're exactly the 7'9" we're looking for. So we're going to cut all 7 of these, and then we'll bring you back and show you how to lay out the rim joists, and then we'll assemble it. So hold on, let us get these cut, and we'll be right back. What we're going to do now is we're going to lay out our 2 plates, one for either side of the floor. And we're going 16 inches on center. And on your handy dandy tape measure here, especially on the Stanley, every 16 inches is marked in a red. So 16, 32, 48. One thing you're going to find though is you don't want to go 16 inches and then put your board. So you want to go, actually 16 wants to be the center of the first joist. So we're going to go 15 1/4. We're going to make our X over here like this. And the reason for that is all your sheet goods come in 4x8 sheets. So if we put the board at 16, when we get to the 8-foot mark on a bigger building, we'd be on the far side of 8 feet. So when you put a sheet of plywood down, it would just miss the stud. So you put your first one at 3/4 shy. So it'd be 15 1/4 to 16 3/4 is where your joist goes. And we just continue that. You could actually, drive a nail there and start your tape again. But we're gonna go 31 1/4. We're gonna go 47 1/4, 63 1/4, 79 1/4. And then lastly is 8 feet. These are actually studs, so they're cut 8 feet already for us. If you were doing just a plain storage shed that didn't have any weight, you could do 2 feet on center. The same rule still applies. You'll see us use 2 foot on the walls, but you want to go 23 1/4 and so on and so forth. Now, your framing square. Pretty straightforward item. It's 2 feet on one side, about 16 inches on the other. This side here is exactly 1.5 inches thick, and that's on purpose. So if you look at our mark, this is our first mark we made. We're going to put our framing square on the board, and we're going to line up our first mark. And then we can go like this, down each side of the framing square. And our joist goes right in the middle of that. So we're going to just continue that on down the board. When we get to the walls, I'm going to show you an alternate way of doing this. Those of you that are, if you're in the construction field, this is a fairly slow process you'll see here, because I've had to go find a framing square. I'm laying it all out. We'll tend to do this on the edges with a speed square, and I'll show you that on the walls. And I did not mark the X's, but here they are for you. And then of course the last one goes right there. So that's our 2 rim joists, one for either side. We're going to get you set up where you can watch what we're doing. We're going to get the nail gun out, and we're going to start nailing this floor system together. So